Hey everybody, this is the Social Distance Reading Series, a project of the Vermont School and Green Mountains Review. I'm Lisa Fay Coutley, author of most recently Tether, which is just about to be released on April 1st from Black Lawrence Press. Thanks very much for being here with me in my 155th day of self-isolation in Omaha, Nebraska. I'm just kidding, but it does feel like a long time, doesn't it? And this is my first reading from my new book. I'm also the author of Errata, which came out in 2015 with Southern Illinois University Press, and In the Carnival of Breathing, also from Black Lawrence Press. And I teach at the University of Nebraska in the Writers' Workshop. And again, thanks for being here with me in Omaha, where I'm going to give my first reading from my new book, Tether, whilst in the comfort of my home and my pajama pants, which is kind of fun, right? But I miss looking and seeing faces in front of me. So this is an appropriate set of poems, I guess. I'll read just a handful of poems from Tether, and this is the prefatory, the proem, the poem that comes before the first section that sort of opens up the other poems. How? And how far must you back away from yourself to see yourself as the astronaut sees Earth from the moon? And how far is too far? So I was really, in the course of writing this book, I was just exploring the sky and clouds and planets and space, and really just became intrigued with the idea of the Apollo astronauts heading to the moon, thinking, of course, that going to the moon was the important part of their mission, only to see Earth from such a distance and gain this new perspective and maybe even new respect for home and for life. And wanted to know how a person could do that in language, to create that sort of distance from the self in order to see the self new, get a new perspective, some understanding. So one of the ways that I did that was to create a dialogue between an astronaut and an earthbound speaker, and they talk to each other throughout the book. And I'm just going to read one of those poems that comes a little bit later, once they've already established a conversation with each other. Delayed communique to astronaut. First thin skin of snow, stop. So white, the breaking wave against its slate sky, so close to its lonely end. Again, always, stop. Sorry I haven't written in days, stop. I found myself telling the puppy he's lucky and cursed to never feel compelled to hold his face against the wind, just to watch the futility of water rushing toward shore, only to be thrown back and in. Stop. To know that complication is beauty, I said, and he showed me I'd never understand the simplicity of chasing a leaf. Though I've been in love, stop. I thought I had nothing left to say, stop. There is a girl behind the birth of words inside me, stop. She's waiting to forget her name. Anything planetary, anything eclipse related, anything like that was total fodder for this particular book. And I think it was the second year I lived here in Omaha, we had a really good view of the total solar eclipse. And so of course this poem was born. Total solar eclipse. Every shadow will sharpen its blade against our strained faces, plastic glasses and necks, craning toward the mother who refuses to be seen otherwise. Mystery is her bitch, tight leash, biting tenor. Forgive me for how wet I get just imagining the day drained of itself. The way city lights are fires burning endlessly from space. New perspective, same place. They say Play-Doh in the palm calms a child with autism. A paperclip over a fingernail for a nervous speaker. What then? For the woman each of us tries to see, even in her hiding, woman of untouchable temperature, all that collapsed matter flattened and fierce and always made to stay at the center of every mistake her children make. What could soothe her? Does she remember? Can she forget? Does she hope every time she cuts herself to crescents that we will see her new, so alone with her own gravity, giving all of herself to the dark? So in the course of writing the book, it became obvious to me that of course we make this kind of distance inside of ourselves all of the time. Just usually we don't do it in healthy ways. We have a lot of ways of avoiding ourselves, or just, pushing ourselves away. Facebook even is one of them. Social media, though I shouldn't say that as I'm doing a video reading here, but addiction, sex, whatever, lots of different ways, and lots of different ways that I've explored in the book here. And this next one is just one of those. Duplex. From the other side of the wall, I hear the woman who could just as easily be me in my bathroom, repeating, I am 40. I am 40. 40. Like a rehearsal for the next man who will ask her age. The way a mother must remind herself, your son is a homeless drug addict. Your son is a homeless drug addict. Your son, until it becomes real and she can pretend that this day can be different from the one that came before, or that will come after her in those moments before sleep, when she hears thunder and pictures him chin up in a mummy bag in that city park where last night she had his dinner delivered to him and felt the earth spin even further out of control, and her life, she is sure, is at least half over, though he doesn't even have a mummy bag, just a pair of sweats, a t-shirt, a ratty blanket, and she convinces herself this is his last meal. So this would be the point where I would ask everyone in the crowd if they've ever tried online dating, and then people would reluctantly raise their hands like this and give that same look that we've all given when asked the question about the most demoralizing thing a person can undertake, which of course is online dating. Though sometimes it's good for certain things. I went on a date with a guy whose job it was to do like the logistical stuff for transporting the parts of a wind turbine, and he was really excited about his job, and so excited in fact that he sent me a time-lapse video of a wind turbine being erected. And so yeah, the date didn't necessarily go anywhere, but that video gave me this poem, so there's that. Wind turbine erection, a time-lapse video. I'm watching in accelerated motion as men dig a deep dish and fill it with the concrete needed to hold the turbine's base. To steady the blades, it takes one train and 6 semis to deliver to these great plains. Things could be as simple as naming someone the small town police chief of our hearts, yet we love with the forgiveness of science. Anyone who's not afraid has never crawled to a rooftop to escape growing, poisoned water. Don't say hope to me. Even a tree knows better than to bet against wind throw. Died unexpectedly always means it was their life to take, and choice is hope. Do you know how small a man looks inside a wind turbine's shaft, gripping his tool to bolt every erect section closed? Of course I worry for his safety, for the earth, the birds. No one knows how many will die or when my dog will go, but I can tell he'll go alone. We're always about to bleed, my friend, and I agree. Our bodies patterns of pain for unsung songs. That's one way to see it. See what can be seen, you tell me, as if I'd been trying to take our picture from 2 million miles away. I hope Earth destroys us before we destroy each other, I want to say. But how can I make you see a woman's right to burn her temple with all her children inside? This is kind of like a funny story, but not necessarily a super happy ending. So I think I will read just one last poem from Tether. It's a poem that took me many, many years to write, and probably could have just as easily been in my first collection, Errata, though it definitely fits with some of these themes of pushing too far away from oneself that I've explored in Tether. So maybe it's just a fine place to end. It's also a poem that I wrote right here in this chair where I'm reading from, so that's kind of fun too. I'm really trying to find the perks of the online reading series. Again, thanks very much for holding these poems with me. I really appreciate that. Dear Mom, it's been an hour since the storm sirens began, yet I've felt freezing rain for days. Outside my window, the plastic bag snagged in the neighbor's tree is filling with wind, then letting it go over and again. I cannot stop breathing. It's been so long since we've spoken, I've given up trying to remember the last words you slurred. Your voice a broken shell I cut my ear against. You and I both know I hope for no ocean. Now that you're dead, do you think love is wasted on the living? I have pretended to look for you in every face since I left the last room we breathed in together. Remember when you dropped your favorite dress at your ankles and stepped into the street without me? Each night, some woman stumbled home and tried to cook your recipes. Her hands just cut you. I was 7. I promised then I'd never let her hold me. My life began inside you. What else is there to say? When I listened to a machine beep your last heartbeat, I never rested my head against her chest. Dear Mom, I'm still waiting for that horse in my heart to stamp its hooves again. I can drop a potted plant from my roof 100 times, though it takes just once for it to learn to brace against the next impact. I'm sorry the world made it so hard for you to know the difference between a caress and a closing fist. I'm sorry you left yourself alone, lonely. Briefly, today's rain gathered on the slats of the deck, and I admired the sky twice. Still, I wish I didn't need to see the trees, dark as charred bones, poisoned veins. I'm sorry I made you a disease I wasn't willing to admit I had for so many years. I close my eyes and try to summon your face, a hole blown through the center of every floor in this endless skyscraper inside me. Sometimes, in the mirror, I stick out my tongue and widen my eyes and cry like a baby who needs her mother to see her need, to be her initial witness, to prove she exists so she can stop hauling her body from city to city, bed to bed, searching for herself in the faces of strangers. When the temperature finally dropped, the rain froze a mosaic, angry, fragmented second sky the snow is working hard to cover now. The sun never showed today. Still I feel her, setting. As a girl, I'd sit by the shore and study her early bruise and her evening blood spilling under a door to another room of the universe, as if I knew every gray day to come without her. Thank you very much. This is my collection, Tether, which you should be able to still pre-order for a couple of days, depending on when this airs. Through the end of March, you can pre-order at a discounted rate, and then purchase as regular through Black Lawrence Press. I believe it would just be blacklawrencepress.com/tether, where you can find the book. And thank you so very much for being here for my first reading from the book. And I hope your self-isolation is short-lived and that you are all safe and well. Bye.